Okay, let's go. Let's go.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Sasha Hodder, and we're on the Hoddercast with a very special guest, Jarib Figueredo. Today is January 21st, and we're going to talk a little bit about EOS and HorusPay. Jarib, maybe you could give us a little background on yourself, how you got involved with Bitcoin and crypto in general.
Uh, Hi, Sasha. Thanks for having me. Very flattered to be here doing this podcast with you. So I got into Bitcoin. I was watching a video a long time ago, around 2015, end of 2015, and he was talking about mysteries, unsolved mysteries, and he talks about Satoshi Nakamoto and how nobody knew who he was, and he invented Bitcoin. And then from there, I started doing research and following cryptocurrencies and following Bitcoin. And then I just started. It was very interesting for me because I'm in the finance industry. I'm a payroll specialist. I'm an international payroll specialist. And then I was doing research and I'm thinking, wow, this is a great application for my field, what I do. And then I started like waiting for something payroll to be introduced on the cryptocurrency industry. So I also got into Steemit, and then from there just followed down the rabbit hole, doing being involved in multiple communities, and then here I am. So that's the story. But my specialty is payroll. I process payroll for more than 8 countries internationally.
Wow.
And then I'm a subject matter expert in global payroll. So that's what I've been doing for a long time. I got into payroll, international payroll, because I speak other languages. I speak Portuguese and Italian, and also Spanish, and of course English. So that's my passion. An industry that is globally connected, that you can interact with different people around the world, and that's why I got into payroll. And then blockchain is just perfect for that.
Mm-hmm. And have you seen any good applications for blockchain and payroll into your own company, I guess?
So, so yeah, I own a startup company called HorusPay, and is what because I haven't seen anything good in the payroll industry or in the blockchain industry, doing anything payroll related. So I was complaining while I was doing my job. I'm like, this is better off being in the blockchain. Why we're not doing anything payroll related? Why am I interacting with this middleman when there's no need for it? And just complaining why nobody's doing it. And then I'm like, why I don't do it? Because I've been on the blockchain side of things for a long time, and I know enough. And then I'm a subject matter expert in payroll. I think I'll be able to be a good asset, and then start working in a project myself. So that's how HorusPay came out. And then so basically HorusPay, I don't know if that's a question that you were planning, but we can get into what HorusPay is.
Yeah, sure. Explain us like how does blockchain or help the payroll system maybe?
So domestic payroll is very good here in the US. We have a lot of vendors and a lot of payroll companies that do an amazing job in doing domestic payroll. But when we go to international, when we go and when we have global companies or have multiple employees in different countries, and we want to cover the payroll need for those companies, is when the mess starts. Because the global the global industry is sort of like very new. It's like a baby. So it started out with the internet, and so more and more companies now are going global. Instead, before it was just a handful of companies that had global domination, but now just any small company with I don't know 150 employees would have half of their manpower internationally, which is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. So with the internet, so more companies are going global, and then payroll doesn't have the infrastructure to accommodate and the needs of these payroll companies. So as of right now, there are two options. So if you're an international company that have 150 employees around the world in 10 different countries, you have two options when you're going to process your payroll globally. Number one, you go on those countries that you're processing payroll and you hire a vendor that will process the payroll for you. And then, but you're all over the place because then you have 10 different ways of processing payroll, and then 10 different ways of sending data to those payroll vendors, and then it just gets very messy. There's a lot of data in payroll. I mean, we have time and attendance data, new hires, terminations, you name it, so much. So and then sending this data in emails and outside of a global payroll system is against the law. So you would not be on compliance in many countries, and you will be um, in a very bad position if there is something that gets hacked, and then personal information of those employees get compromised. So not only with the employees but also with the government. So so that's option number one. Option number two is going to a global payroll vendor that provides payroll for all those countries. But what they are, they're just a middleman. So they provide the structure. They provide one software where you can exchange data securely, and you can communicate with those payroll vendors. And they're the middleman in between, solving disputes between you and those payroll vendors. Let's say that you send a new hire, and the new hire, it didn't get paid, and then you go complain to the payroll, the middleman, and the middleman starts the communication with the payroll vendor. It's just not good. It doesn't flow, data doesn't flow, and then it's very costly. So the solution that we are putting together, so what HorusPay is that software that the middleman provides, and is the only value that they provide. That software, we're building that software so you can send data to your payroll vendors directly with this software, and then you can streamline your processes. So you can have all those 10 payroll vendors that you have internationally on this payroll software, and then you send the data through there. You can streamline your process. You only have one software, and that allows you to not have to have 10 different payroll departments. You can have one global payroll department with an international payroll specialist that can process all the payrolls for you, because that person only have one software to deal with. If you're all over the place, it gets really hard to control. It's very costly, and then one person won't be able to do it. So that's in a nutshell what HorusPay is that software that connects payroll vendors and clients on this platform.
Nice.
And then one of your question is why on the blockchain, right? Why doing this in the blockchain? So some of this data, the biggest problem with dealing directly with this pair of vendors is like they could say we didn't receive the data on time. So this data would be hashed, even if it's off the blockchain, will not be on the blockchain because it's sensitive data that we don't want it to be in a public database. Even if it's encrypted, we don't want it to be in a public database. So even if it's off the blockchain, that data will be hashed, and then we will have proof, or you as a client will have proof that you send the data, and then you will have proof that the vendor downloaded and viewed the data. So there is no dispute.
And when you say the data, is that like a spreadsheet with the hours and the pay rate that the person worked?
Correct. The data could be anything, any information that is relevant to payroll. It could be time and attendance data. It could be a termination payroll saying that we terminated this employee, calculate the final paycheck. It could be anything, a new hire, a salary change, any of that data. And that data is a lot of data because you have a lot of changes through with payroll all the time, constantly happening. So there's a lot of data, and sometimes people miss things, and these vendors don't see your email or don't see the data that you send. But once you centralize or streamline all these processes in only one software, and then you have proof that data has been sent, that things have been read, there is no way around it. And then that's the value that the global payroll aggregator provides. And then so now we have the technology, the software that we're building, and then we also have this decentralization point with blockchain technology that enables you to prove that you send data. And then the great thing is that neither party owns the service, owns the software. So there is no corruption on you changing on the server the time that the data has been sent, because you have no control over that because it's decentralized. So it's not like if there is a middleman or somebody in between that have access to this database and the servers and things, they can change things, you know what I mean? And then because the liability is big, we're talking a lot of money if there is a problem in payroll. So and there is a great peace of mind knowing that that is not corruptible because it's on the blockchain. So.
And then you're using the EOS blockchain. What made that the most appealing one to choose?
EOS blockchain is the most appealing because the transactions are free. So the clients are not having to pay for each transaction that they make, and then they don't have to worry about calculating gas, and it just is friendlier for adoption. So imagine that every time they have a new hire, or they have a termination, or they have data that they're going to send through the software, they will have to pay a gas or a fee to have that data being processed. It's not something that is friendly, and is good for the software. So that's the reason why we choose EOS.
How like technically are they able to do it for free transactions? Because don't most, like I know Bitcoin or Ethereum, they it does have a cost for each one. So how are they able to do EOS with no fee?
So EOS is a delegated proof of stake. So this mechanism allows the token holders to delegate the stake, and then to the BPs, the block producers. There are 21 selected block producers, and they are the ones processing the transactions on the blockchain. So EOS has 5% of inflation, and then out of that 5%, 1% per year goes to pay out these block producers that process the transactions for the blockchain. And then these block producers are elected by the token holders themselves. So there is about 150 block producers that get elected every, I think, is 16 seconds. If
Wait, there's an election every 16 seconds?
Yes. So that's something that people think that EOS is not like you run for office and you don't have to worry about it in 2 years. In a few seconds, there is an election process. The votes get counted again by the algorithm, and then this BPs could lose their position in a few seconds. That's how it works.
Oh wow. So, that wouldn't be much of a claim to fame. I was it for 16 seconds.
Exactly. So the system is made so these block producers are changing all the time. There are some that are
what are
Say
the
it again?
criteria to like stay a block? Like how long the current block producers? How long have they been in office?
There have been some block producers that they're being on the top 21 since the change launch, and this is there are reasons for that. They even if they're in the top 21, they change spots. Like it could be today, they could be in number 4, and then tomorrow they could be number 20. But they have been able to maintain their positions because they do so much for the community. They build tools for the EOS community. They provide information, and so people want them there because they drive value back. It's sort of like a feedback loop where they take those tokens that they earn and they inject them back to the EOS blockchain. So if I hold tokens, I'm gonna vote for them because they're bringing value back to the chain. That's the reason why some of them have been able to be there for a while.
But you can't practically vote every 16 seconds. Like, so how does you mentioned it's an algorithm or something?
So it's not like you vote every 16 seconds. Is that the votes get reviewed or get counted by the system, and then if you were there, if you were number 1, and then 30 seconds later somebody have more votes than you, that's when things get adjusted, right?
Okay.
You go to number 2 position and things like that. So
So you can
it's not
cast a vote anytime and then it'll just
ex-
get counted.
exactly. It will be updated immediately.
So
So if somebody
how many people typically vote every day?
I don't really know because I'm not a block producer myself. We're
Hmm.
just building an application on EOS. So there are many things that we don't know, that maybe a block producer that I could probably next time have a block producer come with me on the show and answer some of those questions. I don't know really how many people would vote in every day, but people vote all the time. So
Hmm.
especially when there are things happening, and then but it's sort of like designed for if somebody's acting out, it can be immediately be
Get rid of
voted out
them.
of yeah, out of the system. Yes.
That's pretty cool. And then, so if there's a 5% inflation and 1% goes to the, oh, my oven, I'm cooking something and it's going off. I hope it turns off in a sec. Sorry. Um,
Or
uh, where does the other 4% inflation go?
so the older percent is it goes to a pool where, and then I have written down, let me because I just want to say
And I'm
the
sorry,
right
just
name.
1 sec. I'm just going to
Yeah,
turn
no
this off.
worries.
It'll take 2 seconds. I'll
That's
be right
fine.
back. Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. So the 4%, the remaining 4% goes to a worker proposal fund. So it's a fund that have a lot of tokens locked in, and then the community can vote for or can propose new tools for the chain. So it's a way for the blockchain to sort of like automatically reinvest on the blockchain, on their own blockchain. So it's a big fund, and then so that way new tools can be created on the EOS blockchain. So that's where it goes.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, so you kind of you touched on the governance system. I guess that same governance system would be in charge of spending that 4% as well.
So yeah, so the government system, what it does is it reach consensus on subjects that and subjective matters that need collective action. That cannot be that is something that cannot be programmed on the algorithm. So it's that's one of the things that EOS has differently than any other blockchain. In EOS, code is no law because sometimes that's not fair for the people. and then so you need some sort of like human innovation, and then that's what the governance system in the EOS is allows this human integration in the blockchain, so you can decide things that the code would not be able to handle. So so sort of like carry out decisions. The governance allows to carry out those decisions that the community would make. Um, so
Okay, thanks for explaining it. And then the other really interesting thing about EOS, I heard it can refund transactions. So is that also, I guess, part of the governance?
so
Or
so yes, there is a elected group that is called ECAF, and then is this group, they can they're members of the community that have been elected by the token holders to hold those positions, and so they're public known people. So we know who they are, we know their background, and then these people, they vote for things. So so for example, let's say that your tokens were that you were hacked for some reason, you can contact them, and then if this is a major event, this is like not for like a small hack. If you're being, if you get hacked with a few tokens, you're out of luck, because they're not gonna take action on the small things. But when they're like big things, they're very important, and then would affect the blockchain. They can reach consensus on a solution, and then appeal or bring the solution to the block producers, and things could be modified. So yes, there are ways to refund on EOS, but it's not something that you will see every day. It's not something that happens all the time. I know that in the beginning, when the launch, the EOS blockchain launch, there were tokens, there were some bad actors, and then ECAF voted to have those tokens frozen from the hacker's account, and then some other people found out about this refund and these things that block producers have authority to unanimously, reach consensus on taking action against a bad actor, somebody that is affecting the blockchain. So that could happen, but it doesn't happen every day, and is something that is very rare. But yes, that's
how would it affect, like, if you were using it for the payroll and then they decided to roll back the blockchain? Would it be like after the DAO in Ethereum, like they rolled it back one and then forked it? Is that the kind of thing that would have to happen, or it's a more seamless process? Like your company's payroll transactions wouldn't be impacted, only the transactions they want will
yes, I think it'll be only the transactions that they're targeting, and my transactions would not be impacted. So yeah, and then the other thing is that EOS doesn't fork because EOS has the ability to update their software. So you can release a new version of EOS, and this happens all the time, and there are new versions coming out, and that makes it really, really good, because if there are things that need to be worked out, you can make adjustments and then release a new version of EOS, and then the block producers would update that, and then you have a new working version of EOS out there. And then if there's a bug, if there's anything that is being compromised, we can update the blockchain, update the software without forking the blockchain.
Oh, excellent. So it's like the SegWit drama that happened with Bitcoin a little while ago, that kind of thing. It would be more, I guess it's more centralized, like that, the group of people that's voted in would just go forward with whatever direction they decide on.
Right. It's just so the group of people that are voted in, they have stake on the blockchain as well. So their biggest interest is to bring value to the blockchain. So they don't want things to they don't want bad things to happen to their block, the blockchain that
Yeah.
they're mining. So, and then also the token holders, that both of them, they have also a stake on the blockchain. So there's a mutual agreement that when things need to go one direction, everybody sort of like reach consensus that this is the direction we want to go, the one that is best for EOS.
And then what is Block.One's role now? I know my understanding anyway was that they kind of created the whole thing, sold the ICO, and then when the network launched, something happened where they relinquished control to all the different people using it, so that it was kind of an interesting bypass of the securities laws too, because they created, like, some people argue that EOS is centralized because of the
Right.
ability to roll back the blockchain or something like that, but then other people will argue that it is decentralized because everyone was able to take control when they turned the network on. And that might be a really bad, version of my own understanding of it, but maybe you could clarify what happened there.
So okay, so the piece number one, which is what Block.One responsibility is. So they sort of like wanted the community to be the one in power. They created the tools for EOS, the tools for the community to launch the blockchain. So the EOS community was the one that launched the blockchain. Block.One didn't have much of involvement in that. So they created the EOS software, which allowed the community to launch EOS, the EOS blockchain. So so I think that right now, so their position is more of updating that software and maintaining the software, and also incubating new projects and encouraging development on the blockchain. So I think that's their position now. So that's one piece of your question. So now the other piece, what was the other question that you asked?
I guess how the well, I think you kind of explained it, like that they didn't do, it was all the EOS community that did the network launch and not Block.One.
Exactly, yes. And then they weren't involved in rolling back the blockchain, and that's not something that happened on EOS. What happened was that some accounts were frozen. So to my understanding, and as far as I know, uh, the VP's ECAF, which is those members, voted for freezing these accounts that belong to bad actors, and it belonged to people that hacked other people's funds. And then I think that we can all agree that that's a positive thing. Some people just took it, in a bad way, and say, no, this is something that is not good because we want decentralization. But I think it's good. I mean, if all your funds from your bank account suddenly disappears, you would love that somebody would take action on that.
Yeah.
So I think in order to have um, adoption, if we want to go to the next level in blockchain applications, we want some sort of like human innovation that is positive. It's not like it wasn't a bad thing; it was a positive thing. The hackers' funds were frozen, and then no, there was no um, fork needed in order to do this. So this was something that was on the positive side, but that's not something that happens every day. It's just like the blockchain was so new, and the funds were it was a lot of money taken out of people, and then they took action. But is something that they're obviously avoid to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, things it's not as easy as to get intervention from ECAF on matters like this, because it's so like created a big scandal. People took it negatively. So
What I've
Yeah.
noticed with the whole crypto community is they'll take everything negatively all the
Yes.
time. Anything you do
Depends.
is negative.
Yes, it depends on.
It's quite a funny community.
Yes, it's like if you go one direction, it's bad, but if you go the other direction, it's also bad. So
Yeah.
just
I know a
um,
guy that got a whole house from Bitcoin Cash. Like when they did the airdrop, he sold it right away. He had so much of it that he was able to buy a whole house on it, and
oh
he
wow.
hates that. Yeah, I get it. Like, you know, a lot of people hate Bitcoin Cash, and I kind of tend to lean on that side myself. But if you think of it objectively, it's like, who else can give you a house and you hate them that much? Like, it's just a weird. There's so much tribalism, I guess, in crypto.
Yeah, there's just there's a lot of ideology, and there like things that like people see it as a political thing, right? Instead of being practical. And then the thing is that you never, so first, in order to introduce a new technology, you want adoption. And in order to have adoption, you want the technology to sort of coexist with current system, with the current system. So if you're too maximalism on your views, that is not gonna be able to be introduced to the current system. So you want technology to be able to find their way in things that have been proven to work, and they've been working for a long time. So that I think that's a positive thing, and it's something that EOS is something that I see in EOS, and is the reason why we're building on EOS, because it you were able to introduce this new technology, and I think is more intuitive to the current system. And even if we have to sacrifice a little bit of decentralization, it's true that EOS is not as decentralized as Ethereum or Bitcoin, but it has it's different. And then for somebody that is more business mind will like that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And it seems like a lot of the Ethereum people have kind of gone over to EOS in the last year. Would you agree, or is that um,
I think so. I think we've seen a lot of developers coming from Ethereum just because they weren't able to develop their application on Ethereum in a practical manner. It's just like when we saw in December when transactions skyrocket, and then we saw that there's no way that you could develop an application like Uber, like you can't develop Uber on Ethereum because every time you request a ride, it's going to cost you $7. It's more than the ride that you're going to take. I mean, it's not
mhm.
practical. So that's the reason why. And the other thing is that EOS is more user friendly, I believe. Um, the blockchain is very new, and then there are barriers now because people need to learn how EOS works. But I believe that with time, new tools will be developed that is more friendly to the users, and is way friendlier than Ethereum, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So
And
um,
do you have any idea like how many projects are being built on EOS at the moment, or it's probably a huge number, like hard to capture it all, but
I believe that is in the hundreds. I'm gonna send you a link so you can post it on this video, so you see like a chart that shows you all the projects.
oh, cool.
Like every day. This chart every day gets updated. You can't update it every day, but Block.One updates it a lot, and then you'll see a lot of more projects coming. Before it was just this big, because we were HorusPay was like the second airdrop on EOS. We
Oh,
airdropped
wow.
right after the chain, and so we were really excited when we appeared in this small chart with a few applications only, and we're like, look, we're there. Or our logo was this big, and now we're like this. You can
Oh.
really notice so much. There's so many people coming in. So
Hmm. And one of them is it Second Life, or a big game is saying they're going to use EOS. Is that true?
so yeah, I don't know the name of the game, but I know that there is this company is called Activision Blizzard, and they're the ones that make the Call of Duty games, um, and then so it's a big gaming company, and then they have they have this department of this project under their company that was funded by a VC of EOS to build a game on EOS. So that's all I know. So I think if this comes to fruition, which I think is very serious, because they got a lot of money. They got, I think it was 12 million, 12 or 20. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%, but I think it's 12. I think that it'll encourage a lot of people to come in and interact with the EOS blockchain and see how practical it can be. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what I heard too was that Second Life that uses the Linden, I think it's called Linden dollars. It's been like an online currency for, since I think like the 90s, that they're going to be using EOS too. I don't know how true it is, but if that is the case, I think, one moon for EOS.
Right.
But,
that would be nice.
So, do you have any predictions, or do you care to make one on the price? Like it's gone down a lot from what I can see, but so has that.
So yeah, I mean, I think when the mindset is on red, it's like people are on this sell mindset. Like there is no good news that can come out that it would change people's mind. It's just like, it's very difficult to predict when there's going to be a shift. But I think that EOS has a lot of potential just because of all the development that is happening. And then the good thing is that during this bear market, more projects with a solid use case for blockchain, they're coming out. Just because the new speculation, the old 2017 mindset of speculation of an ICO and a grab money and run is just, it's vanished because it's not happening. So now people, creative minds are being forced to create and create things that are a good application and a good business model that has a structure and it can be sustainable outside of the speculation. So I think that's great. I think the new Amazon or the new Facebook is going to come out of blockchain, out of the blockchain industry and out of blockchain technology in the next couple of years. And I think EOS has the infrastructure to support something that it could be built to be scalable to that level. So so yeah, I'm bullish on EOS.
Excellent. Well, you're not alone there. I think there's a lot of people really rooting for EOS, hoping it'll do well. And where can people find you?
So HorusPay.io, that's our website. You can also find us in Telegram. I'll send you the link to our Telegram group. And then I'm always there. I'm always checking for questions and things like that.
Yes, you are one of the fastest telegrammers I've ever met.
Hey, yeah, I mean, there are a few people there are a few people that I keep my eye for, but when obviously you're one of them because your time is very important. But Telegram is insane. I mean, I have so many groups in there, and sometimes I miss things. So if I do, I apologize. But I keep my eye on a few people and on my Telegram group. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming and educating us a little more on EOS. It was a good deep dive into it, and we'll look forward to watching HorusPay grow in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.